So how's this for flavour? Noah's gone ahead and built a Karn's wedge deck. He's built Mardu or Dagger.
Yeah, I mean, I was initially sort of flirting with white and black just on their own, but then looking through the red. I mean, we'll get to the cards, but I had enough red in there to make it a worthwhile colour splashing for, and in the end, I've actually sort of equalled my mana cost with black.
Sure.
We'll go through them anyway. So we'll start up here. You'll be able to see the cards on the right-hand side of your screen for a bit more clarity, but we've got 2 Selfless Cathar, which is a nice 1-drop, 1 white for a 1/1, and you can sacrifice it and paying the additional cost also to give all your creatures an extra +1/+1.
Yep.
So later game, it's nice to push through that extra bit of damage, but also if he's going to die in combat, you can also sack him to give something else a boost.
Of course.
We've got a 1/1 here with Forged Devil. Now, this is one of the reasons I want to play red, because this guy is fantastic. A 1/1 for 1 red. And when he enters the battlefield, he deals 1 damage to target creature, and also deals 1 damage to me as well. So when I play this, it will deal 1 damage to any other creature and 1 to me. A little tip is not to play this on its own, because it kills itself and deals you 1 damage, which is useless.
Yes.
This whole top layer here is creatures, just to clarify. So you can see our curves sort of like quite consistent low drops, and then we got a couple of high drops. So we go on to our 2 drops here. We've got a Reska Swiftclaw, 1/1 white for a 3/1. It's just simple, good beater.
Yeah.
Kinsbale Skirmisher is a 1/1 white for a 2/2 that gives another creature +1/+1 when it enters the battlefield. So
which is great.
It's nice to go from 1-drop into 2-drop and give your 1-drop a little bit more butt for its bite, get it through for a bit of extra points.
2 Child of Night.
2 Child of Night, which is one of the big reasons that black's in this deck. Child of Night's great, a 2/1 for 2 with lifelink. It is going to gain you some early life.
Getting that life gain in early is quite important.
It is very important in limited, and also, you know, just to be a blocker and gain some life from it can be quite good in a pinch. Also got an artifact creature here in Bronze Sable, a 2/1 for 2 of any colour. Because I am running 3 colours, I did want just a creature I could reliably cast at any time. And so Bronze Sable is that creature. It's good for what it does. Moving on to 3-drop creatures, we've got 2 Goblin Rough Riders, a 3/2 for 3, 2 and 1 red. Just a vanilla 3/2 creature.
Yeah.
But it does work. I mean, you know, 3 powers not to be sniffed at for 3 mana.
Creatures like that are built for limited.
Yeah, they're built for limited, and I was looking actually to get 2. I really like this guy. Another creature I got 2 of in our 4-drops is 2 Razorfoot Griffins. This guy is pretty nuts. A flying first strike for 4 mana. It's a 2/2, which is not as high body as you want, but being first strike and flying is really good. So the evasion there is key.
Yeah.
And then we've also got a Zoff Shade, which is 4 mana again for a 2/2, but you can also pay 3 mana to give it +2/+2 until the end of turn. So late game when
Shade ability.
Classic Shade. Late game when you need a sink, you can pump mana into this guy and get him through. One of the cards that made me play reds coming up next as well, which is Hoarding Dragon. It's not the most useful card, but its second ability with the artifact thing, where you exile it and then when it dies you get that into your hand.
Its body and its evasion makes it good.
The body and evasion makes it good enough. But if the artifact thing is there, we do have Bronze Sable, and we've also got Brawler's Plate down here, which we'll talk about later. But Hoarding Dragon, a 4/4 flying for 5 mana. I know red's 2 mana cost is a little restricting, but you know we should be able to hit that in this deck. And if we don't, then there'll be other things we can do with it.
Yeah.
And one of the things we want to be doing with that mana is pumping it into this guy right here, the mythic we got in the last pack, which is going to shape the deck. If we get this out, it's going to be tough to deal with. It's a 6/6 Vigilance for 6 Soul of Theros, and you can pay 6 to give all creatures +2/+2, first strike, lifelink, and it's until the end of turn as well. And you can also do that again from the graveyard by exiling it and paying that cost again. So there's our creatures. We've not got as many non-creature spells. Obviously, this is limited. You don't want to put so many non-creature spells you can't move for them. So we've got one mana spell, which is Crippling Blight, which is an enchantment. Enchanted creature gets -1/-1, so it will kill weak things, but also that creature can't block.
So it's multifaceted. You can remove something like a Death Toucher that's getting in your way, or you can stop a potential blocker. Yeah,
it's also good for getting rid of early mana dorks if you know that you're going to struggle. If someone's got their Mystics or whatever, which I know you're most likely going to be playing.
Even a Golden Hind.
Even Golden Hind's going out of the way with a spell like Crippling Blight, and they are useful to do that. A card which I wish I would have seen multiples of, knowing that I was going to play red, but I only unfortunately got one, is Inferno Fist. Again, an enchantment that gives that creature +2/0 for 2 mana. And also you can pay 1 red and sacrifice Inferno Fist to shock something, a creature or a player. So it has the +2 attack, which we really want with this deck, to get through some of that early damage. Yep. And also it has the shock elements. Going into our 3 mana spells, this is where we top out our non-creature spells. Which we have 2 Pillar of Light, exile target creature with 4 power or greater, or 4 toughness or greater. I can't remember which one
as it happens, is going to work quite well against my pools.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to play Pillar of Light anyway, but knowing that Alex is playing that sort of very heavy green deck, and he's got some huge creatures in there, as you watched in our pack openings for this. I mean, some of the creatures are massive. Pillar of Light at instant speed will deal with them. Coming down again, we've got 2 Stab Wound. Now this is a really good card. It's a fantastic card,
especially in limited.
Yeah, I mean, if it doesn't kill a creature because it gives it -2/-2 for 3 mana, it also makes its controller lose 2 life a turn, which is a clock. You'd be surprised how quickly that life will deplete in limited. If you can stall the game out, or if you're just needing a couple of extra damage through a turn, Stab Wound will do it.
And you then made it your opponent's problem to deal with.
Yeah, because even if, for example, I see a Soul of Theros sitting across the table from me, and I put a Stab Wound on it, it becomes not only just a 4/4 and not a 6/6 I have to deal with, but also it's giving them a problem having that creature out, because every turn it's going to cost them. Moving down onto Necrobite, which is an instant spell to give a creature regenerating Death Touch.
Yes.
Is really nice trick, especially with a lot of the lower power creatures. You know, I can just throw them at people, and if I've got a Necrobite in hand and they're blocking with something big, I can get rid of it. Brawler's Plate. Now this was something I eventually put in after a lot of thought. I was originally going to play Black Cat for another 2-drop, but looking at my 2-drops in creatures, I had plenty enough anyway. And Brawler's Plate curves nicely from its 3 cost to play and then its 4 to equip. So it curves nicely into the equip cost, and also it gives the creature +2/+2 and trample. So it allows those smaller creatures to become a bigger threat. And then for our land base, it's simply 7 plains and then 5 each of Swamp and Mountain, because we're quite equal on that. I think Swamp slightly edges it, but because we've got a double casting cost for Hoarding Dragon, I wanted to up the Mountain cost 1. But there we go, guys. That's the Dagor Mardu deck that we are going to be running. I'm really excited. Hopefully we get to see Soul of Theros. Alex obviously hoping he doesn't have to see Soul of Theros, but I'm also hoping I won't have to see his deck at all, and unfortunately I have to see it for some games. So let's go ahead and look at Alex's deck. Okay guys, we've looked at my Mardu/Dagor deck. Let's go ahead and look at one of the shards.
Yeah, sure.
We have got Jund. Alex is playing Jund.
Of course I am.
He got very, very strong in green and very good red and black spells to go along with it. So let's take a look. Let's start us off at the top corner.
So, straight away, I've got 2 copies of Typhoid Rats, a 1/1 Death Touch.
He's a mean little beastie.
Yeah.
He's a mean little beastie.
A 1/1 Death Touch for 1 in limited is good. Like proven.
Yeah, it's just good.
It stops you from doing stuff you don't want to die.
No, it's simple. It's good late game just to stave stuff off. If you're behind, it's good early on. It's just great.
So yeah, as soon as I saw those, that was like sort of making me think about black. 2 Elvish Mystics. This is a snap. I already knew I was going for green.
Yes.
Elvish Mystics absolutely cornerstone of pretty much any green strategy.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no surprise, and I'm so happy that I got 2 of them. I would have played 1. If I'd got 3, I would have played 3.
Yes.
So 2 is good. Over on the 2-drops here, we've got 2 Runeclaw Bears, which are vanilla as it comes. It's a 2/2 for 2.
Yep.
It's a bear, but in standard, in limited, you can't really complain about having something that's on curve.
No, it's good
because usually you have to settle for stuff like Goblin, the one that you've picked, the 3/2 for 3.
Yeah, the 3/2 for 3. Yeah.
We've got Genesis Hydra on the 2 CMC pile.
Yeah.
Now, Genesis Hydra is going to be one of the big power cards in this deck.
Oh, it's huge.
If I can ramp enough mana into it, it's a possible game winner right there.
Yes.
I don't really need to sing its praises. Everyone knows how good it is by this point. I've got a Zathrid Slyblade, which flavorfully is one of my fauourite cards from
It's awesome. It's a really good card as well, especially in this sort of format. It's really shiny.
So for 2 and a black, you get a creature which has hexproof, and then for 2 and a black again, you can give it First Strike and Death Touch.
And it loses hexproof.
Yeah.
It's so cool, as Alex says, flavorfully, jumping out of the shadows, and it loses that sort of veil of night and takes you out, and It's
but
really cool.
From a gameplay perspective, it sits there until I need it.
Yes, until you don't need to have hexproof and you need to block something.
Yes, and kill something.
Because it will do that. First strike death touch is one of the best combinations of abilities.
Absolutely.
Because they're
just made for each other.
Yeah.
Goblin Rabblemaster is the next one. Now, I love Goblin Rabblemaster. Anyone who's played Magic against me in the last month, knows that I'm a big Rabblemaster fan.
Yeah.
Getting this in limited, awesome.
Yeah.
Just brilliant, because if you don't deal with it, it just bleeds creatures onto the battlefield.
There aren't many ways as well that, especially in the build I've gone for, that deals with that. I'm looking for stab wound or that's it.
Yeah, pretty much.
I have to take Rabblemaster out. And
Goblin Rabblemaster's
if I can't, it's going to take the game over.
It basically got me to second place at the M15 pre-release.
It's really good.
So on
its own, yeah.
So Yisan the Wanderer Bard is next.
Interesting card in this deck.
I really hope I get to use it. Because you'll notice that my curve is, well, I've got 4 piles. It's 1, 2, 3, it misses 4 and goes to 5. So mana sinks are important in limited. Yisan is a great way to spend your mana.
Yes.
And so, but in this limited sort of like function, even if I only use Yisan to get me an Elvish Mystic
or a Typhoid Rats,
that's great. You know, that can be very important for me.
The thing is, he constructs a curve on his own.
Yes.
Like, you get your 1 drop, your 2 drop, your 3 drop. You can go and get your Rabblemaster. You can go and get a Netcaster if you've got a flyer.
For obvious reasons, the 2 mana, less important because I couldn't possibly get the Genesis Hydra from it.
Yes.
It would just die. But then at 3... I mean, I don't expect it to get to 5, but at 3...
All the other creatures are things you will want to be searching in different scenarios.
Yes, so I'm very happy to have it, and I'm really looking forward to seeing it do work.
It's great.
And then we've got Netcaster Spider, which is a 2 green for a 2/3 with reach, and whenever it blocks a creature with flying, it gets +2/+0.
So it'd be good on its own without that ability, a 2/3 reach for 3. Yeah. But the added ability
this just sets it above your average Spider.
Yes, it does.
So we've got Shadowcloak Vampire in the first of 5 drops.
Indeed.
Now Shadowcloak Vampire is a
4/3.
Yes, I believe so. With the ability of sacrifice a creature, you lose 2 life, and it gets flying until end of turn. So, you know, that's a good finisher.
It certainly is. I mean, we're moving on next to a card that gains you life.
Yes.
In Rotfeaster Maggot, which obviously you can then use the life to pay for Shadowcloak. We were talking about this a minute ago.
So Rotfeaster Maggot is a 3/5, and when it enters the battlefield, exile target card from a graveyard.
I think it's creature card.
Creature card from a graveyard, and you gain life. That creature's toughness.
Yes.
So that chains really well with Shadowcloak Vampire. You gain the life and then pay the life to get your vamp flying.
Yeah, it's always good.
But just on its own is good. And I mean, I know you're not using any graveyard effects, but on its own, just to gain life is pretty good. And you've got a decent toughness creature.
Yes.
Thundering Giant is next. 3 red for a 4/4 haste.
Yeah.
I believe, or was it 3? It
might be
5/3.
It might be a 4/3 actually.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, it's on screen now. You guys can see anyway.
You can see. You know more than me.
Yeah.
It's a good hasty creature though. I've used it before in limited, and anything with haste, especially something with a decent body, even though it's a little bit below the curve, is good.
Yeah. And then you've got 2 copies of Charging Rhino.
Now, Charging Rhino, 4/4 in limited is enough. If that's a good enough body to justify people having to double block it.
Yes.
And it can't be double blocked.
Yeah.
So it's it's either going to hit you for 4 or kill one of your little creatures.
Yeah,
basically.
It's really going to be difficult to deal with, especially when I have got lower creatures. I'm going to be throwing things in front of this.
It's not the most oh my god shit my pants card ever.
No.
But I think it's gonna work well if it hits the field.
Yeah. Okay, so let's move on to your non-creatures, which you've got a couple of piles. You've got 2s on 3 drops. So let's talk about those.
So I've got a Lightning Strike first up.
You know what that does.
Yeah, Lightning Strike's just classic. As soon as I saw it, I was pretty sure I was going to use it. I've then got 2 copies of Inferno Fist.
We've already spoke about that in mine and how I wanted to. You've got 2.
Yeah.
Gives it +2/0 and obviously the shock. It's great.
It's great. I've got a Titanic Growth after that for a nifty little trick.
Nice with Charging Rhino.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really good with Charging Rhino. Because if I am blocking it with one thing that I think is going to kill it, might actually not do.
Yeah.
I don't want to be throwing my Soul of Theros in front of that anytime soon, just for fear of that trick.
And then also Life's Legacy, which is a newer card. As additional cost to Life's Legacy, you sacrifice a creature. Draw cards equal to the sacrifice creature's power, so
yeah,
just a great card.
It's good. I mean, you can use it on your Charging Rhino if it's not needed.
Draw 4 cards.
Draw 4 cards.
That's 10% of my deck.
Yeah,
so.
that's 10% of your deck. If Shadow Cloak Vampire is making you drain too much life and it's not doing that good on its own,
just get rid.
Get some cards from it.
And I can even if there isn't any good targets for Rotfeast and Maggot, I can potentially sack something and then Rotfeast and Maggot that after.
So gain the life and draw. That's good. Yeah. That's good.
So I've got 2 copies of Necrobite. I put this in strictly for fear of Soul of Theros. I put these in just so I can have them in my hand, just so I've got a combat trick if I need it.
Yeah.
And it is a good combat trick.
It is very good. I'm running 1 in mine. You're running 2. Again, it's like the Inferno Fist thing.
Yeah. This card is just on the borderline of not making it into standard. I think ever.
I think it's 1 mana away.
It's 1 mana too much.
We saw Deadly Allure. A sort of variant on Necrobite in Innistrad. I think it was in Dark Ascension, which had 1 black to give it creature death touch and must be blocked this turn, and then 1 green to do it again from the flashback. That made it in standard. Necrobite's 1 mana away, I think, from being good because it gives something regenerate.
Also, don't forget that it will almost definitely kill the creature that it's then blocking.
Yeah,
on
and
the
also save
combat
your creature.
But it will also save it. In very fringe cases, it will not be regenerated if you have to sacrifice it or whatever. But,
so let's finish off with your land. How many swamps are you running?
I'm running 4 swamps.
Yeah, interesting. You're not running your Urborg.
I had it in.
You did indeed.
I took it out right at the last second.
You did just before we pressed record.
Right at the last second. There's not enough black to justify losing a land just to make all my mountains and forests black.
Good call.
Black's not big enough in this deck. If I was running like
green.
Yeah, if I was running black was my main colour or even my secondary colour.
Yes.
But I consider it to be the 3rd colour in this deck.
Okay. So moving on, how many mountains? I think that's good though. I think that's good justification for the Urborg thing because people probably would be wondering where's Urborg after seeing you open it and you're running black. It's not always needed.
I did have it in just for the because Urborg.
Yeah, but it's not always needed. Anyway,
not worth it.
Moving on, mountains.
I've then got 6 mountains.
Yep.
And I've got 7 forests.
Okay, guys. So there we go. Check out our next videos. They will be the gameplay videos of these fighting away. We are going to go ahead and play those matches right now. It's going to be interesting. I think they're going to be close. Again, like usual, you guys said, we always make decks that battle well against each other and it's always going to go one or the other way.
It's totally by accident.
It's really not. They're totally by accident. But I think these, again, could have situations where both will win.
It's kind of small v big, isn't it?
It is. It's little on my end, but then if you get ahead of yourself and go nuts...
But then you have got Soul of Theros.
But Soul of Theros and Hisho, it's going to be interesting, guys, so make sure you stick with us. We will see you next time for those games, and as always, like, comment, subscribe, do all the good stuff we love you doing.
Cheers, guys.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Thanks for watching this video from zlatanobojmtg.
If you enjoyed the video you just watched, please take a moment to press that subscribe button.
Leave a comment.
And give us a huge thumbs up.
Thanks guys, and we'll see you next time for more awesome MTG content.